Welcome back to Test.io Open Mic, the podcast that explores the fascinating world of software testing. I'm your host, Charlie, and today we're continuing our Testers Spotlight series with a guest from the small town of Kotma, India. Joining us is Sudheer Yadav, a tester who's been with Test.io for nearly 4 years. Sudheer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charlie. It's great to be here.
Let's start with something fun. I hear you're quite the motorcycle enthusiast, especially when it comes to Royal Enfields. What is it about these bikes that you love?
Oh, Royal Enfields are special. There's something about their classic design and the powerful thump of their engines. Riding one feels like you're part of history, but with modern reliability. It's an experience like no other.
Sounds thrilling. Now, let's talk about your journey into testing. You've been with Test.io for 4 years already. How did you find your way here?
It's been quite a journey, Charlie. I actually started in technical support, but health issues led me to explore freelancing. I tried various crowd testing platforms, but wasn't satisfied until I found Test.io. What stood out was the simple interface and the global opportunities it offers testers.
That's fascinating. You mentioned becoming the ultimate testing champion. Can you tell us more about that?
Absolutely. That's a title I won in the Testing Cup competition. I have to give credit to my mentor, Chandra. Without his encouragement, I might have just been watching from the sidelines. It really pushed me out of my comfort zone, especially with iOS and streaming device testing.
That's a great example of how mentorship can make a difference. Do you have any testing secrets you can share with our listeners?
No real secrets, Charlie. I approach each test as a normal end user would. I start with basic features like navigation and search, then move on to more complex areas like product pages and the checkout process. The key is to be thorough and think like the customer.
Excellent advice. Speaking of advice, what would you say to beginners in the field?
Don't be intimidated by long lists of known bugs. There are so many device browser OS combinations that there's always a chance to find something new. Jump in and start exploring.
That's encouraging. Now, let's shift gears a bit. You mentioned some interesting apps on your phone. Tell us about the drone camera app.
Ah, yes, it's called RCFPV. It lets me connect to and record video from drone cameras. It's fascinating to see the world from a bird's eye view. It's not just for work, it's become a bit of a hobby too.
That sounds like fun. I understand you're interested in learning new skills. What's on your learning wish list?
I am really keen on learning animation and video editing. I have this dream of becoming a content creator someday, and these skills would be invaluable for that.
That's exciting. One last question. You mentioned virtual friendships. In this digital age, what's your take on them?
I do believe in virtual friendships, but with a healthy dose of caution. The internet has made it possible to connect with amazing people worldwide, like in our Test.io community. But it's also important to be aware of potential risks and maintain some boundaries.
Well said, Sudhir. Thank you so much for sharing your story and insights with us today. Your journey from technical support to award-winning tester is truly inspiring. To our listeners, if Sudhir's experience has sparked your interest in testing, remember that Test.io welcomes testers from all backgrounds. You can find links to get started in our show notes. That's all for this episode of Test.io Open Mic. If you enjoyed this conversation, please rate and review us on your favorite podcast app. Until next time, happy testing.